Alright, now that we're done with our spreadsheet, I'm going to close it out. Remember, Google automatically saves. So it should still be, yep, there it is in my folder where I saved it. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Forms. Now, Forms is another really good tool from Google, and it is another tool that you can use in many different ways. So I'm going to show you one example of how I use Forms in my class, and then I'll go through some steps on how you could make a little form for the beginning of the year for your students. So first I'm going to pull up my real account, not my pretend one. Go back to my drive. Okay, so I'm going to go into, to show you this, my student folder. And I'm just showing you an example of how I would use Forms. And inside, all I did was go into my science folder and into Unit 8. And inside Unit 8, I create folders sometimes and I don't share them. I'll turn off all the share to my kids. I'll show you how to do that later, probably tomorrow during the training, how to hide a folder in a shared folder. And the kids always get mad at me, but I'll put a folder in here for stuff that it goes along with this unit, but I don't want the kids messing with it or looking at it. So in Unit 8 we study body systems, and the kids have to do a huge frog dissection lab. And one problem is the lab sheets were a nightmare because they were all over the table, and it was just hard for kids to keep up with. So now Monica and I use Forms for the kids to submit their frog dissection lab in, and it's really cool. So I'm going to show you first what the lab sheet looks like. So here's my lab sheet, and when I click it open like this, since I made it, it shows me this edit view. This is what it looks like when you're working on a form. But right up here, if you ever want to see what it looks like when somebody's actually going to complete the form, you hit View Live, and this shows you what other people would see. So we created a form for this where the kids put in their name, what class period, and instead of answering all the questions on paper, they just went down and we actually made this form. We turned our worksheets or our lab sheets into a form where the kids submit this all online to us, and we do not have to run off the lab sheets, which were each kid got a packet that took up 6 pages. So this saves us a lot of paper in the room. So anyway, I made this form, or actually Monica and I did, and we added in all the pictures and everything so that the kids can fill it out all electronically. I'm going to close that. Remember, this is the edit view. All I did was click live to go there. Now, whenever you create a form, Google automatically creates a spreadsheet, and it'll have the same name, but it'll say responses by it. This is where you go to look for what people put. So these are the responses from the lab sheet. Okay, so I had moved the name out to this end while I was working on it. Oh, sorry, lost it. So I was going to show you. Usually it would be on the other side, but I changed it around. So I have the kid's name, and then I can go through and grade their answers just in a spreadsheet form. So when I'm grading, all I'm doing is I'm finding the kid's name, Nick Pay, and these are the answers that he put. And I can go all the way across and grade very quickly. Instead of having all that paper out on my desk, would be the way that I graded the sheet. Remember, Google automatically makes this spreadsheet for you so that you can look at the results of a form very quickly. Alright, so there's a real life example that I use in the classroom. Now I'm going to go back to my pretend account, and we're going to look at creating a form. Okay, so I want to make a form, just a really quick form for my kids to fill out at the beginning of the year that just gives me some information that I might need to find really quick, or really quickly. So again, I don't want this in the journal grades folder, so I click my drive. Okay, and I'm just going to put this in my account, my real account, y'all saw that I hid my Frog Lab actually inside Unit 8. That's just an organizational thing. You're going to put forms and all this stuff wherever it makes sense to you. I also have a folder inside my Google Drive that's just forms. Okay, and I put forms, just random forms that I make in that, so I know where to go get them. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I've created a forms folder in my drive, and I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to go create a form. And when your form pops up, it's automatically going to prompt you to title it. So this one's going to be called Beginning of Year Form. And then you can go through and pick a theme, whatever you want it to look like, and hit OK. Now the title is up there, and under here, you can just hover over or mouse over things and it will show you. So like under form description, I'm just going to say, welcome, please answer the following questions for me. Okay? So the first question is going to be, what is your first name? And if you needed help text to explain what that meant, you could use it, but I think that's pretty clear. And this is not a multiple choice question, although some people would want it to be. This is, I just need a line of text question. Okay? And then if you want them to have to answer this before they submit the form, you say required. So the days of not writing your name on your paper, if you use Google Forms to submit work, those days are gone, because you just say the question's required and no one can submit it without a name. Now they can make up a name, but that's easier to catch than no name at all. And then once you get through with that, you hit add item, and it will automatically add the next question for you to type in, what is your last name? Text, it is required, hit done. So now I have two questions on my form. What is your first name? What is your last name? And then I can go over here to, remember, hit view live, and it's going to open it up in another window, and it shows me what it looks like to someone when they're going to submit the form. Okay, so when you're done with that, I can close that back out. Whoop, my mouse is messed up. And then I go here. The next thing I want, I'm going to hit add item. What is your lunch number? Okay, and then you say required, and you hit done. Now I know that we can all find kids' lunch numbers in Skyward, in the gradebook. But the problem with that is a lot of times Skyward leaves out kids' lunch numbers when you run that report, and you're in the middle of class and you need to know somebody's lunch number so they can log into something, and you don't know what it is. So if you make a form and you ask the kids to fill it out for you quickly at the beginning of the year, you're going to have all of that information in your Google Drive. It's just very important that you keep that safe and you do not share it with other people. Now, you can add other questions to your form. I know some of you like to make kids answer questions about themselves and their family and all that stuff. If you want to go through and create a form like that for your kids to fill out for the beginning of the year, that's awesome. Go right ahead. What I want from my kids is their first name, their last name, their lunch number, and I want to know their alpha key, because this is stuff that I have to constantly look up. What is your alpha key? Question mark. And I'm going to make it required, and I'm going to hit done. Now this is just a very simple form. I'm going to send it to all of my students at the beginning of the year so that I have all of that information recorded in my Google Drive. I wanted to show you though, there are tons of features to forms, and the more you play with forms, the more you can figure out it does. Like if I hit add item, I'm going to delete this, but I just want to show you. These are all the different types of questions or responses that you can ask for. So there's tons of stuff that you can do here. There's also advanced settings, and and I'm not going to go into that really right now because it would take like forever. But I am going to put a tutorial over Google Forms, and a guy does an excellent job of explaining all these different types of things that you can do with it. One thing I really want to show you though, because some of y'all are going to really take off with it, is if you set up multiple choice questions. And Josh, the new tech director, he uses these a lot to create really good forms. You can actually set this to where you're going to certain pages based on what question you pick. So you can set up forms for kids that are actually interactive, where they answer questions. If you answer this, go to this page. If you answer this, go here. So there's really a lot of stuff that you can do with forms. We don't have time today to get into all of it because honestly we could do a whole day talking about forms. But I just wanted to show you that all of this stuff is out there for you to start playing with and using. I'm going to delete this question off because I don't want it on there. Another thing I want to show you before I stopped was the copy. If you're doing questions where you're asking the same thing over and over but changing like one word, you can duplicate the question. This is just edit to go back in there and do that. And then some people get confused. You can like drag things. So like if you want to, for some reason, if you wanted last name first, you could click and hold here and pull that up and rearrange your form. And again, you can always go back and look at what it looks like to get it the way you like for it to be. Now, it says all changes are saved in Drive, so I can exit out of there. Okay, and once people... oh, I forgot to show you something. Sorry. Once people start answering your questions, your little spreadsheet's going to pop up that has your responses for the form. But I wanted to show you up here, you can change like where your responses go. I always just leave it the default what they say, because it's the same name as the form, and then responses is right there in parentheses, so you know what that is. And right here is where you would turn the form off. So if you have a link to this form somewhere, like on a website or something, you can turn it off or you can turn it back on, and that would keep people from sending you answers on there. I don't use that. When I make a form, I send it to the people right then through email for them to answer and send back to me. I don't really use links to forms a lot, but it is available. Okay, so there's my little tutorial about forms. Like I said, much more I could tell you. So go ahead and go create your own form and try it out.